Hello and welcome back to the JBR Capital Fund Your Passion podcast with me, Amanda Stretton, and founder Darren Selleck. It's been a long time since we were last with you. Darren, have you been busy?
I've been actually incredibly busy. I didn't have any breakfast this morning, so I'm a bit moody. But yeah, we've been incredibly busy in the last year. It seems, Amanda, despite the rise in interest rates, that people are still buying high-end luxury vehicles in droves. They've not been put off at all, especially Cullinans, Uruses, and Porsches, your favourite brand of all time.
Don't get me started. Well, listen, we are here. We're probably in one of the best places to talk about this. We're here at Baytree Motors with Chris McDermott and Chris Astle. Great to see you both, and thank you very much for hosting us today.
No problem.
First of all, do you both go along with what Darren's saying? Are you seeing a really buoyant market at the moment? We'll start, Chris. I mean, Chris, this is going to be complicated, isn't it?
This is going to be complicated, isn't it?
Chris M.
You want me to go first? Right, okay. Yeah, we are seeing a pickup, certainly this year, in volume, certainly for supercars as well. And supercar appetite increasing month and month. We've just come off the back of a 13-car week last week, and we're going to hit over 40 cars this month. So for us, that's a good performance, over 40 cars.
That sounds like quite a lot.
Yeah, it is, yeah. Over a car a day. Model mixes, all sorts of cars, Lamborghini, Ferrari, Porsche, your favourite brand, all sorts of stuff there. Yeah, I mean, the market's really buoyant at the moment. And like Darren said, despite interest rates, the market's really strong.
It's good. Well, okay, listen, that's great. Chris, I don't call you Chris A, Chris M. This is going to make it easier. Just make things more straightforward for everybody.
Good job, my name's not Chris.
Thank goodness as well. I mean, that would have been, you would have fried my brain there.
Definitely.
When did your sort of love, when did your passion, when did your enthusiasm for cars first start?
Oh gosh, I guess when I was a teenager, really young boy, admiring all the sort of the supercars, and I go back a long, long way. Of course, I'm an awful lot older than Chris M. I first started when they thought he had a red flag in front of the cars, and so I went out. But I was the guy that held the red flag. But no, sort of going back sort of to, I guess, the 13, 14, messing about with cars and stuff. We used to buy an old banger between three of us and start doing it, then sort of started to admire them. And I tried to get, from school, I tried to get into the automotive industry as a mechanic, actually. And I went for my first job and got turned down, got rejected. So that was it. And then I went into a factory straight from school because I couldn't get a job. And then I ended up going to a parts department for a sort of a local company in Derby, Caves of Derby as it was then. I went into parts and then into sales, and there we are. So sort of going into, and my big thing, passion always was BMW.
Because you worked at BMW for quite a number of years.
35 years, yeah 35 years of BMW. So started in Derby, the old Bridgegate premises in Derby on BMW, where I first met Chris all those years ago, and then was there for sort of 11 years, and then I went on my own with Astle BMW in Scunthorpe and Grimsby, and we held that for 10.5 years. Had an offer to sell the business out, so we sold the business out, and I retired for my first time, but then asked to join the BMW dealership in Derby again. So I ended up exactly 11 years later in the same seat I vacated. 11 years later, which was a great story.
Hopefully they've upgraded the actual chair.
It was the same seat. So yes, that was great for me. So I had that continuation with BMW, and I always lived locally in Derby anyway. And then stayed there for 13 years. Then sort of 2021, they sort of relocating to a brand new site, and I thought it was time for me to hang my boots up with BMW. So retired from there. Telephone call from Chris. What are you doing retiring? Come and talk to me. So from October 21, here I am.
You joined
so we've joined
the business.
Absolutely.
But before I come on to sort of the family business element, just a quick question about working for a marque for as long as you did with BMW. Does that... So obviously you're really familiar with the BMW product, the ethos, the design, the way they work. So when you're now sort of working with all these other brands, what's it like? I mean, do you sometimes look at them and think, oh, that's clever, or never thought of that, never saw that?
Well, it's such a varied mix. I think that, the big word there is brand. I think one thing with BMW, it's the brand, isn't it? Everything's about with BMW, it's synonymous with the brand. Everything's around it. Everything you do reflects the brand. And this is what we're doing here with Baytree. you know, everything's about the brand, whether it be sort of Lamborghini, Mercedes, Porsche, whatever it is. It's all about the brand of Baytree, and then obviously the sort of
mark
vehicle brands behind
yeah.
it.
So Chris, how did you get started?
Well, 30 years I've been in the industry. It's ironic actually, because I started selling cars to Toyota, realised I could sell, spoke to 4 customers on my first day and sold 3 cars, and thought, the sales manager at the time says,
Not for me.
we've got someone here, we might be able to do something with this guy. So I worked for Toyota for about a year, then straight to your favourite brand, Porsche. And Land Rover. So we had a multi-branch site at Nottingham. I spent some time there, then headed over to Nottingham to BMW Derby to join Chris. Chris was the main guy there, and I was just a little sales guy, just beavering away selling cars. And Chris was the main guy. He ran Chesterfield in Derby. Then I sort of started there and just went through management, and then ended up looking after one of Chris's. So I started my BMW career with Chris, middle 90s, and ended it with Chris. One of his dealerships that he used to own. So that was ironic, really. So it was quite a nice story. But I've always had a passion for cars. I love the connection with people and the cars. That's really important to me, is getting that connection right. This business is really a relationship business. It's not a car dealership. We sell cars and build relationships with customers. That's what we do here. So it's just a passion. I love it. I love the cars and the people, putting them together. It's a bit of a dream job, really, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think so as well. Would you agree? Dream job?
I could give it a go if finance doesn't work out. But yes, it's a dream job.
You're
Yeah, of course
a
it is.
personable person. Do you think?
Do you think so?
I actually do.
Goodness, okay.
But do you think you'd be good at selling cars?
I think I'd be
I think it would.
awesome salesman.
think it would be
I don't
awesome.
know. I'd probably want to keep them all for myself, but I'd try and sell a few. But yeah, I mean, whether it's selling cars or selling finance on cars, it's the motor trade. And the trade for me is all about the people.
Yeah.
Whether it's the dealers or the brokers or ultimately the customers. And I don't know about you, Chris and Chris. It makes it nice and easy, doesn't it, Chris and Chris? For me, it's always all about the customer and building those relationships and having that empathy and understanding their passion and what really drives and what interests them. I mean, I'm sure you get cars in and you go, oh, I know just the person who absolutely loved this car.
Absolutely.
And you're on the phone to them and you put the idea in their head and they're probably calling you 10 times afterwards.
Yeah.
Can I come and see it?
Yeah.
And it's all about the people. And I personally, I'm very excited about seeing people get excited about cars like little boys and girls.
That's right.
And just revert back to real basics of just in pure unadulterated enjoyment.
Yes.
It's people, isn't it? It's a people business, isn't it?
Yeah.
People
Totally.
buy from people. That's the whole thing with it.
Yeah.
And generally we find that people know what they want to buy, generally when they either contact us by email or telephone or call in.
Because they're just about finding that out now, aren't they? So it's all about
Well, I think that's the whole thing.
people
with it.
dealing with
I mean,
people, and
years
it's not
ago, they
working,
had to
is
step
it?
into a showroom, didn't they, to actually find out exactly what was happening.
So do you
Whereas
find
today-
then that the people who come in, they already know what it is they want to buy? Or do you also find people come in just to have a little browse and end up
I think it's a
with some
mix,
serious
really. I think
interest?
generally they've got an underlining sort of requirements of what they're really looking for. Sometimes it's probably out of sort of the price range or whatever it is, or they want to aspire to that certain vehicle, and this is the first one. Then sort of they sort of, you know, aspire to the one they really want. But generally, people come and have a wander around. But in most circumstances, when on the inquiry level, they inquire on a specific car.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing. You know, this is what the main thing we focus on is sourcing cars, because obviously as independent, we don't have a manufacturer to rely on to supply the cars. We have to source them. So that's the nice thing again about an independent, where we only buy the cars we really want to sell. So we make sure we have the right car with the right specification at the right price.
So I think that's really
And
interesting
that's
because one of Amanda's very good friends is Joe McCarry, that we love. He's such a character. And Joe, for years, I've dealt with him for years, used to say to me, I've got this customer, needs finance. I say, well, what's he buying? He goes, well, I haven't decided what I'm going to let him buy yet.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, I mean, does that hold true? And given what you said, are there
I think
customers
some
that don't know
want
what
their
they
mind
want?
making up, don't they?
Yeah.
I think some people just want it endorsing. They know what they really want in their mind, but they're just frightened to probably make that final step and to make that sort of reservation fee or whatever it is. So sometimes you have to sort of, I think it's just a qualification. I think qualification is the most important thing with the customers. But the nice thing we have is the time to spend with them. That's a great thing. There's no real pressure. you can feel the sort of the atmosphere in this environment, and people come in and we sit down with them and really understand their requirements and what they really need, rather than just sort of, sort of wander around and see what you want, and then when you want it, give us a shout type of stuff. It's the fact is that it's all about that relationship, and as Chris mentioned earlier, this is a relationship business, and when we get our first customers, they want them to be sort of long-standing, sort of like
Build the relationship.
The whole thing.
Chris, you were saying that it's also, this is more of an internet business now rather than relying more on people walking in off the street. How and when did you see that
in the olden
shift?
days? I mean, I guess olden days. I guess when me and Chris were working at BMW, and you got your main three manufacturers: Mercedes, BMW, and Audi. You was in a battle then. It was a volume, prestige dealership. BMW manufacturers just want volume. Every year it was volume. People used to have sales guys, including me, used to run around forecourts chasing people around. Don't go to Audi, we'll give you another 300 quid for the deal, or whatever it was. All that seems to have gone off the high street. We seem to be dealing in a market where, this particular market, where people know what they want. They want a Lamborghini Huracan and they want it in blue and they want to spend X amount. So they'll sort of tell you what they want. So people's buying patterns have completely changed to the internet. Definitely.
Social media, Instagram, there's a lot of footage and material and content.
So
the visibility has just been massively increased.
Yeah, we've got sort of collectively 30,000 sort of followers on Instagram at the moment, and we're big into Instagram, and we buy a lot of cars from Instagram, and we sell a lot of cars from Instagram, and it's all about a reputation, isn't it? And sustainable showroom, and how long you've been in business for, and our business, we just get customers coming back over and over. You talk to me a time and time. Some customers buy 5 or 6 cars a year from us. You're talking about people's, in terms of sales guys and, your prominent salesmen, and do you want to do a deal? People tell you what, they phone us up and you're putting a deal together.
See, that's interesting, because if you're selling a lot through Instagram and they're seeing the photographs, the video that you've taken, then I guess there must be instances where effectively selling at a distance, and distance selling regulation comes about, and dealers historically try to avoid that. But I guess you're confident on the quality of your vehicles and reputation.
Yeah,
I guess you probably don't see any of them coming back on distance selling.
We don't see any of them coming back. Hardly any cars come back at all, because I think we do the job properly and ethically here. That's what we operate really. But instantly, when I set the business up and went from BMW and set this sort of internet business up with Baytree, the first few people that bought a car without sort of seeing the car, I was like, oh God, they bought it without seeing it. And all of a sudden, it's just, we execute, 90% of our deals?
90%.
Really?
On the phone?
That many?
Absolutely.
Easily 90%.
Wow.
And most customers will say, dealt with you before, Chris, love your service, bought a 458, deliver it to London next Friday, transfer the money, job done.
So how long ago did you set this up?
2006 to operationally we was going sort of 2007. So we've been going for 15 years, 16 years.
And as a sort of more family type business, how do you think that differs from sort of the more commercial enterprises? Do you think you have a different ethos?
Probably, yeah. My son was involved in the business. He's gone to London now, but he was involved in the business for 10 years. I think the way that we operate the business, we operate it like a little small family, don't we, Chris? We've known Chris.
Well,
Chris for a long time.
You had to say yes then, really, didn't you?
Yeah, we do. I think
It's true,
you've got to make the right decisions. I think you've got to come across as the right sort of, your genuine, bona fide people in the marketplace. People know it. And so saying to Darren, it's an incestuous business, isn't it, this business? Everyone kind of knows it. So, we've been going for a long time and people keep coming back to us, and we must be doing something right.
Yeah, absolutely. And you, Chris, your role as Managing Director then, what does that look like?
That's an interesting one.
Now that you've retired, come back,
Makes
retired,
great
come
coffee,
back.
by the way.
Yeah, makes
Thank
great
you.
coffee.
Yeah, it's great, and it keeps you off the streets.
Yeah.
There are, but no, it's great. Obviously, when Chris asked me, it was great, and I said to him, look, I don't know anything about these. I could tell you what a Lamborghini is and what a Ferrari is, what model it is, I've no idea. And he just said, well, don't worry about any of that. We've got a team of people here who know all about that, which they do. And I guess for me, it's just to bring it in to actually raise the profile of the company, to develop this brand and, develop the company, really. We did this showroom refurbishment last year. We created a new sort of Baytree logo, which created last year to actually develop this brand. And as I said earlier, that we're not having a manufacturer to actually hide behind or lead up to. We have to create all this ourselves. So it's all about the Baytree. So you know, my main function is actually to keep the brand, to raise the profile of the brand and keep improving on that. So people just think about Baytree when they want to buy a, you know, a sort of a supercar or a sort of, you know, a sort of prestige car.
Yeah. You were talking earlier on about finding the right cars, making sure that you're getting the right stock in. What are you seeing as, I mean, because obviously the trends are changing, you know, from when you first set the business up as well. Are trends changing? Are people's appetites changing? So what do you see as being the sort of cars, brands, marks that people are most keen on buying?
Porsche, probably for us, I would say a third of our stock, constantly a third of our stock, represents Porsche, I think so.
Can't get away from it, man.
No, you can't get away from it.
Great cars.
I think it's because of the range, isn't it, with Porsche as well? I mean, when you look at sort of the model range that they have for a prestige brand, that's why you have the volume. And, you know, as Chris said, you know, a third of our stock, a third of our sale is Porsche.
Yeah. But Land Rover equally. Land Rover, we do well out of Land Rover. I mean, Land
Can
Rover.
you believe how much they cost, though?
I know. I mean,
It's insane.
It's insane, isn't it?
The new Land
Range
Rover,
Rovers, Defenders,
yeah.
Defenders, like new Defender, 110, 120.
Yep.
1,000 big Range Rover autobiography, 160, 170 plus.
Yeah.
I mean,
They're like doubled in price, aren't they,
2005,
really?
I had a big, nice, bright black. Well, it can't be
Bright
bright, but anyway,
black.
Yeah.
it was beautiful. 50 grand it cost me.
Yeah.
Gosh.
2005. Now we're at 170-ish.
We are.
It's insane.
Do you think it's a better car now for it?
I think it's just. I think it's got a cult following, and they're just known for what they are as being probably the pinnacle of the 4x4 of its time. Obviously, if you want to go something a bit more sporty and performance based, then you've got people moving into things like Urus's, who've been incredibly successful. Thank you, Lamborghini. Thank you so much. We have funded, I don't know how many Urus's.
I bet you have.
Incredibly successful. But Range Rover, we do a lot of Range Rover products. You can't deny the success of the brand.
The new model's
Anyone
great.
would think I
Model's
sold
great.
cars. I mean, can I have a
great
job?
here. Yeah,
Can I have
you're
a
doing a great job here,
Yeah.
Darren.
I'll get my wife to relocate to Derbyshire.
She'd love it. She'd love it.
She'd love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously working with finance companies like JBR, I mean, how do you see that as complementary to the business? Obviously, it means you get to sell cars. But do people like the finance process? Do you think it helps people, and the idea of the way that sort of works over the course of a deal?
Yeah. I mean, we use JBR a lot now, and the process is seamless, really. And we've got a business manager on site here, and we involve him. It's an integral part of buying a car, isn't it? Having finance and JBR.
But that's
very
it,
good.
is it? So in the beginning,
Massively.
obviously people were coming with
Massively.
not a suitcase of cash, but making
Yeah.
it.
But if someone says, I'm buying that Lamborghini Huracan cash, I'll be questioning, or the guys will be questioning where that cash is coming from. Not many people would buy a car cash, and if they do, why are you buying a car cash? So, yeah, that all wants scrutinising as part of the process, really. It's qualifications really key to get the deal closed at the end. We don't know how they're funding the car, but I think it's an expectation level for everyone now that buying cars. Very well, we deal with a lot of high net worth clients, and they're
Amanda,
all
you'd be
finance their cars.
surprised. I mean, even at the high-end luxury sector, probably around 80% of people use some form of finance to buy their vehicle. Now, a lot of them will try and make out that they don't, but they absolutely do. And it's just become the norm for how people buy their cars. There's no stigma.
Why would they?
Because in the old days, it was if you can't, if you don't have the cash and you can't afford it, you don't buy it. It's very old school. Now, everyone says, well, you'd be a fool not to take finance. And why would you use all your money and put it into a lump of metal? I could go and take that money and buy property or invest in my business and make a better return than the very good rates that JBR charge. And that's you can go and buy 3 cars now instead of buying one.
Well,
so why not? Right? Go live the dream.
Absolutely.
I think the other thing as well is on that obviously with the sort of high residuals generally on this type of car, on a supercar, it's not all about the capital cost of the car because the residual is so high on sort of PCPs and stuff that the fact it comes down to that monthly payment. It's all about monthly payment, and I think some people have a mental block.
I'm going to give you a job at JBR now.
You're never going to retire.
Actually, it was Amanda asked me earlier, and that's a very good point you say on the residuals. Amanda was asking me, with the kind of rise in interest rates going up probably 4% or so since the bottom. You know, has that affected people's appetite to buy cars and finance? And absolutely, it just hasn't changed at all. And actually, residual values has played a large part in that. Because you can buy something. I know we keep coming back to Urus's, but I kind of got the numbers in my head.
Yeah. You like them, don't you?
I do like them. I know, but I've got an SQ8 and it's like the poor man's version, and it's really good. So, because the stability of residual values and increase, you can buy the same car for a very similar monthly payment because residuals have increased so much. So due to COVID, due to supply shortages and changes in manufacturer behaviour, producing more cars to order rather than flooding the market with stock. But is that what you're seeing as well?
Yeah,
in
we
terms
are
of
really. I mean,
resale prices and prices. Are you having to pay more for your cars to buy them in?
Well, we are, yes. I mean, it's softened. So the market's softened a little this year, but it's actually coming back again now. I think we're going to see sort of residuals actually probably go up again.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think initially when the interest rate rises started to come in and all the energy stuff started to come in, people just did a bit of an instant panic. Want to get out of all this. We saw a bit of a surge in. People want to get out of the cars, and we actually did that. But I think that's all sort of calmed down a bit now. So I think we're going to see I think that value is actually going to increase on this type of product. And I think because again, it's all reflects onto new car supply, isn't it? And I don't think there's any sort of prestige or supercar manufacturer that actually haven't got a long lead time on any of the product. So of course, if people want a vehicle or new related, they're going to have to go something like if they want it now. Of course, a lot of people who buy this sort of stuff want it now, and that's the whole thing.
It's kind of from August really. We've seen the market shift a little bit on valuation and stock, and I think once one dealer or something starts talking about it, everyone sort of panics a little bit. Cap values have come down on cars, so that's an indication that the market's dropping sometimes on used cars, on certain cars, not on every car by the way, but on certain cars, and we don't seem to have seen that drop off carry on. It seems to have got increased, and that's a reflection of sales as well. Our sales rate has gone up exponentially. Last week, 13.
Explain that. I mean,
I mean, obviously we're selling the cars at the right money, which is obviously key, and that's a reflection of Chris's job. He's doing a great job, and the sales manager we've got here, because he's buying the right cars at the right money. So that's reflected in our sales performance. But there's certainly a real good buzz about the feeling. When I speak to a lot of my colleagues at own dealerships and stuff, they're all buzzed up about this year, and we've got it's very positive, very positive.
Big smile for you then.
Yeah, that's good. I think
we've got big targets to meet this year.
Are there any cars that you've had sort of in the last 12 months or longer, in fact, really stood out for you? Any sales that you were particularly memorable, cars that you really enjoyed selling, great cars that came through, or do you enjoy every car?
I mean, standout cars, famous. I mean, we've sold Ron Dennis's 650S Spider. That was a McLaren. That was a beautiful car with different bits on, have a P1 and stuff like that. So it was a bit of a different car. Guys actually still got that car, JBR customer.
Right answer.
Loads really. There's loads of different cars, but that's a standout one for me. But when you work in this environment all day, nothing.
You're
really
a bit spoiled, really, aren't you?
Yeah, we are a bit.
Oh, yes, you are. Yeah, you can get sort of complacent with some of it. You're looking at some of the stuff at 300,000, 400,000, awful lot of money. But it's the car itself. And again, we get back to this individuality on product and stuff. So we had an SF90. We've got an SF90 coming this week as well. I had an SF90 recently, 296 Ferraris and stuff. Which are all great cars to sell because they're not plentiful out there.
I think they're really pretty as well.
Pardon?
I really think the SF90 is pretty.
Yeah, do you like that?
It's a cracking looking car.
Nice looking car, isn't it?
So we had one of those recently.
Chris can do your deal.
Do your deal on that?
Yeah, yellow one. Got a yellow one coming.
I'm not sure. Actually, funny. Last week I was on the radio talking about the new SMMT data about car colours. Grey being the most popular colour, and followed by black and white. Really exciting.
I think that's reflective of the UK, isn't it?
Well,
and
it
our
is,
weather.
but I mean, looking across it, I mean, obviously there is quite a lot of grey, a lot of green.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Green's
I'm not
coming
sure
popular.
I want. So coming back to the SF19 yellow, I'm not sure I want a yellow one.
Okay.
But,
Okay.
But some people want that high-profile car
Yeah.
and they want it to stand
Stand
out
out.
and to be different, and that's the whole thing, isn't it?
But how does that affect resale value?
I don't know. You've got to tell us that. On the residuals on that one.
Yes, we've seen some interesting colours in our time.
have you?
Yeah, there are colours and there's colours, definitely. Yeah,
What colours are good? Don't say grey and black.
boring colours.
Yeah,
They're just
they really are.
you know,
They
it's,
the
work
safe
better.
ones, isn't
it's
it?
the safe ones will always sell quicker because there's just more people are interested in the boring colours. But
The bright colours.
the bright colours, the bright yellows, the mantis greens, and the bright, electric blue
Blue. I was
colours
about to say electric blue
are
is good.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Well, we took a Jaguar in a few years ago, and I'll never forget it. That was a memorable one. Jaguar XF, and it was bright red with bright red leather interior. And I went bonkers at the sales guys, and who's took that car in, who's took that car in? And
Probably
we sold
so,
it
yeah.
the very next day.
No, really.
So there's always a market, isn't there? That's what I remember.
Jaguars have often got quite punchy interiors, haven't
Yeah.
they?
Yeah, they have, yeah. Yeah,
They've
they
always
have.
gone for that double stitching kind of thing.
Yeah, they have, yeah.
Anyway. I'm kind of pleased to say, though, that the sort of crayon isn't. Oh, there is. Is that a McLaren? I can't see behind the.
I had crayons.
The crayon colour
Well,
is
there's
very
a
popular.
the
actually.
like
crayon
crayon?
colour, but I've always thought that was just a bit dull. It really is very unimaginative.
What colour would you go for then?
In what?
In anything?
I like sort of bright blues.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a bright blue car. I quite like orange, but sort of the sort of 70s orange. But you know why I like the 70s orange.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It depends what the car is.
And
I think
colours go with brands, do you think?
definitely colours
Yeah.
go with brands. Yeah, if I was going for an BMW, I think I would definitely go for either that pale blue. I think that's
Oh yeah.
I think that looks really cool.
Nice colour.
And it's not too standoutish.
Yeah.
It's not. It's sort of out there, but without being kind of
Makes a statement without it
without
being in your
being.
face.
Yeah, and it matches most stuff.
Yeah.
So, very important.
I'm just checking I haven't got
Just
one
to
in
the
here, but I
guy.
don't think
No, I
red
don't think-
looks great on a
And
Bentley
isn't that
GT
interesting? There's
myself.
only you've only got
No.
one red
I'm
car.
not a big leather of red on
Yeah,
a
we have.
GT, but on a Ferrari, I mean, you can never get it wrong, can you?
No.
Well, generally,
No.
you always get the sort of odd person who will have wants a Ferrari who doesn't want red. We have one customer, don't we, who won't have any red car at all.
Well,
but
you've
likes
got the
Ferraris.
SF90.
Yeah.
Send that his way. There you go.
Yellow.
We'll look
Yeah.
at that for him.
Right. Before we wrap up, one
Yep.
question we always ask everybody: drive, race, collect. So, daily driver, what would you race, and what would you park in your garage?
Okay, over to me.
Yes.
So daily driver, I'm going to say a Range Rover.
Okay. Which one?
Rear wheel steer.
Oh,
new
okay.
one.
Yeah.
The new one.
Big-
We've got
yeah.
one for sale here, but
Oh, funnily enough.
funny enough. Range Rover as a daily. Race car. GT2 RS. I've took one of those around the track a few times.
Quite handy.
Fantastic. Far beyond my driving capabilities. And a car to put in the garage. It's got to be a Gullwing Mercedes, hasn't it? 1954, the
yeah,
classic.
yeah.
That's the one for me.
They're expensive.
Missed the boat with those
Yeah.
now.
Oh,
Oh,
yes.
there we go.
Okay, well, that was very good. Well done.
You like that?
Yeah, I did. That was quite a good selection. Surprisingly, no Ferraris. Yeah. Okay.
Well, for me, I'll start off at the bottom. I sort of start off with the car to put in the garage. I haven't got Chris's money, so I can't have a Gullwing. I'd have this one here.
Would you?
I'd have this Roadster. Yeah, I think that to put in the garage, that's just a fabulous car to actually just put in the garage. It's going to appreciate eventually in value. It's such a classic looking car. I think that's absolutely amazing. So for me, in the garage. I think daily, probably a 911 Turbo S. I think probably that's just quite a nice car. Your favourite car
Yes,
to
you like getting around
run
quick.
around
Yeah.
in.
Oh, I love it.
Overpriced.
And track car, probably GT3 RS, probably something like that to actually on the track.
Well, I'm outnumbered.
Yeah.
Yeah, with a Porsche.
Can
Yeah.
sense the
Yeah.
disappointment in your.
No, it's fine. Listen, it's great. Listen,
I've got a question for you. Talking about putting cars in garages, a lot of our customers, I'm sure yours, are buying up supercars and luxury cars at the moment, given the move to electric vehicles, and they're not going to make many more of these. Are you seeing collectors come to you and buying these cars up for that reason, or is it something different?
Well, it may be a reflection, I guess, on our sales rate. I mean, I don't know. I couldn't sort of actually identify if that's the main reason they're buying the cars. But obviously, this year we've seen our sales rate improve.
Yep.
I think it was interesting in February. I think it reported that prestige and performance cars, new car registrations were down. I think they were down something like 15%. We saw, alternative to that, an increase in our sales. We saw an increase of sort of plus 30% in the actual month of the same car. So I don't know. So whether that's sort of reflective of that, I couldn't really say. But again, going back to electric cars, not quite sure electric is the answer long term. My personal opinion is I can't see all the OPEC countries just giving up all their oil and doing nothing about it. So I think we're going to see a sort of like a future of synthetic, carbon-free fuels to actually use in combustion engines, I guess, really.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Well,
we've seen an EV market for us. We don't sell many electric cars here at all. So
Funny that.
funny, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, listen, Chris, thank you so much for hosting us today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you for having us.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, and join
Thanks,
us next
Tara.
time. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.